Institution located in Kenya. We welcome all today. Kisii University, the fountain of knowledge. We welcome all today. Kisii University, the fountain of knowledge. Kisii University, the fountain of knowledge. Kisii University, the fountain of knowledge. Wageni wote kwaherini, chuo chetu cha Kisii, raha tele kuwa nanyi, njoo tucheze ngoma yetu. Wageni wote kwaherini, chuo chetu cha Kisii, raha tele kuwa nanyi, njoo tucheze ngoma yetu. Vyombo vya muziki vinalia, konko konko konko. Vyombo vya muziki vinalia, konko konko konko. Tunacheza tukiimba, chuo chetu kinang'ara. Tunacheza tukiimba, chuo chetu kinang'ara. Tunacheza ngoma yetu Kenya we, tamaduni wetu Kenya. Tunacheza ngoma yetu Kenya we, tamaduni wetu Kenya. Laleyo wakalenjini, ilumi wakamba warukaruka, enda banana abagusi, isubuti waingo waluya. Laleyo wakalenjini, ilumi wakamba warukaruka, enda banana abagusi, isubuti nayo waingo waluya. Watu wanao wanacheza Ramodi na Nyatiti, Kikuyu nao ni Moboko, pwani Kenya ni Sengenya. Watu wanao wanacheza Ramodi na Nyatiti, Kikuyu nao ni Moboko, pwani Kenya ni Sengenya. Tunacheza haya 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 haya, tunacheza haya 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 haya. Tamaduni wetu, tucheze ngoma yetu na vyombo vya muziki. Tucheze ngoma yetu, tamaduni wetu, tucheze ngoma yetu na vyombo vya muziki. Tucheze ngoma yetu na laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo. Chokese na kiti obokono, chokomo na laleyo. Tamaduni wetu, tucheze ngoma yetu na vyombo vya muziki. Tucheze ngoma yetu, tamaduni wetu, tucheze ngoma yetu na vyombo vya muziki. Tucheze ngoma yetu na laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo, la laleyo. Chokese na kiti obokono, I know you're in my heart, you're in my soul. You're all I can resist. I need to tell you, the first time I held you, I knew you are the love of my life. And I spent a lifetime waiting, always hesitating until you.
Good afternoon again. We want to come to the closing ceremony. DVC, AP&F, welcome. I want to take this opportunity now to welcome the Dean for our school. Come and welcome the DVC, AP&F to give his speech, which he was supposed to give in the morning, and at the same time perform for us the closing ceremony on behalf of the university administration.
As we stand together, I promise forever, till the day that I die. You are the love of my life.
So welcome to the afternoon session. I want to take this opportunity to welcome our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration and Finance, Professor Mailutha. He's also the Acting Vice Chancellor for this session. Professor Mailutha is a professor of engineering. So those of you who are engineering, I doubt if there is any here. So that is Professor Mailutha. We will give him around 20 minutes to deliver his keynote address. Then he will close the ceremony officially as the acting Vice Chancellor. Welcome, Professor Mailutha.
Of culture also washing the new culture. Okay. Okay, Mugani. So I thought that now this being a culture, everybody will understand, when you speak your heritage, yeah? Now that one I don't know which one now to say. Otherwise, good afternoon, everybody. And sorry, first of all, let me apologize for keeping you waiting because I think there was, I think I missed the time. I got confused because I think some students also must have had some noise. Some students were making a lot of noise there also. So I think they caught us off guard. And in the process, I forgot, but of course I knew that sometime in the afternoon we will meet. Otherwise, apologies for that. Well, some time back, somebody from the organizing committee approached me to prepare a paper And I thought, of course, I cannot prepare a paper from engineering, otherwise I'll be addressing the wrong people. So I decided to look for something that is close to the audience. Otherwise, just to add to what Dr. Mbarasa said, when you say my lawyer is an engineer, engineer is very wide, mechanical engineering, agricultural engineering, civil engineering, aeronautic engineering, and so on and so forth. So mine is agricultural engineering. Okay, that is now my branch, which these days we are calling actually biosystems engineering. I think modernizing names. Otherwise, that's not the topic today. I'm just adding that down. All right. So I decided to maybe share a bit of the Meru culture so that I can be close to what people are talking about. And that is what is called Meru culture, traditions, and customs. All right. The basket here is also part of it. So I have put there 3 names or 6 names for that matter. The Mumeru, that means the person. Okay? And what in brackets there, Mumeru, okay, that's like Meru, that's what the Meru call themselves. This Mumeru is more or less from foreigners' point of view. Otherwise, for us, we say Mumeru. And therefore, from there, Ameru is the people. Sawa. Ameru is the people. Meru ni wanu mmoja, mtu mmoja. Alafu Kemeru is the language they speak. That's why I stand by those terms to explain what is what. Sawa. Okay, next. Now, who are they? The Ameru people occupy the 2, actually formerly the large Ameru district, when you have districts, which now in county form, we talk about the 2 counties where the Meru people are spread, in. That's the Meru, what you hear in the Meru now, and the Tharaka-Nithi. Those are the counties where you find the Meru people. And then, well, there's a Bantu group from the northern eastern side. They are made up of 9 sub-tribes. I think Kijama might be quite aware of some of these things. The Igembe, Tigania, Imenti, Mutene, Igoji, Daraka, Chuka, Mudambe, and the Mwembe. Now, just a moment. Igembe, Tigania, they are more or less those signs, I don't know what to say geographically, but they are the farthest. If you move from this side, they are the farthest their side. Then the Imenti, Igoji, Miotene, they are now almost like central. And then the rest, they are now which you approach as you approach from this side, mainly in the Tharaka-Nithi county. But that's where the group is spread. Right? The legend, just quickly. The Meru people have always been, meaning single religion. Mono means what? Yes, but they believe in, of course, in God, which they call the Murungu or Ngai, right? But they always believe also that this Murungu is there to protect them, and they cannot do, he cannot do harm to any of the Mumeru or the people. So they have to protect, no harm. Of course, they believe that the Murungu is not just somebody out there in the open or so far away from there, but it's among them. So God was not a supreme spirit out there, but a great and good Father, though invisible, but provide and watch over his people. So they believe, or the mayor believed, that this Murungu is not just somebody out there in the space, or the way people say upstairs or something like that, or in the Bingun, the way people say, but it's just somebody everywhere for the purpose of protection. Okay? So it was God who through his intermediary Moe led the male people out of their slavery, and that's not about origin. They believe, the male people believe they came from somewhere around the coast. And I don't know, they say that they were under slaves from the Rand people, what they call Guntune in the Khmer. The Rand people, I don't know really, why the Rand, what the people actually used to spread, I don't know. But they believe they were in slavery and they made, the Guntune people, that is the Rand people. Okay, still talking about religion. The Amer people believe in three types of miracle spirits, which, of course, Nkoma is what they mean by spirit, that's their language of, Nkoma. But then, as we will see later, Nkoma has also another meaning. So, they believe there are three types of the spirits. There is the ancestors, or the ancestral spirit. There is evil spirit, because that ancestral spirit is actually the one maybe linked to the people. They maybe believe after you die, you become one of those. Then, of course, they are the spirit protectors. So the evil spirit, this is, as I said, there is another name for, Koma means also, when you hear somebody is abusing you, I tell you, Koma is also meaning the bad spirit. So that is another meaning for Koma. So those are three, they believe in those three spirits. Next, please. This is just explaining, of course, the good spirit, which is the ancestral spirit. Well, Komachia, our ancestors, our ancestral spirits, which, of course, they believe that this is after transformation. We will see later, shortly. They believe that when you die, you become a spirit. This good spirit, not a bad one. And of course, is kind of one of them. There's a linkage. That's why you remember I said these protection purposes, and there is no fear for, of any harm from that one. Then, of course, the evil spirits, which of course they believe as maybe more or less dangerous, is more or less as supernatural forces, whether known or unknown. And then, of course, there is also another, mostly they say these will protect women. The women protector. You know what, when they say this women protector, it's simply because, of course, remember the good spirit to protect everybody. But then they expect also the women have got a special, special protection. Maybe because also sometimes maybe they're endangered by men, I don't know. But they believe that also there is a good spirit, to protect the women especially. Now, I remember I mentioned they believe that God also works through the spirit, the prophets, which they call the Moe or Awe. I mean, Moe is one. So they believe that traditionally the Moe serve as both prophet and spiritual leader. And what were they supposed to do? Protect these people, keep drought, famine away, natural problems away, and also being kind of the leader, spiritual leader, or kind of actually I'm at purpose kind of a spiritual leader, priest, king, a leader in general. Yes. Well, I'm sure there are some people here who have married, maybe from Meru. So marriage among the Meru is normally taken as a very, very, very important kind of unity or institution among the people. Respect. I think some of you here can understand that. And I think this is common to most societies anyway. But among the Meru normally is taken, the first, like when you are not married, sometimes even the respect is not there. That can also be today be used as a campaign too. When you are campaigning and you are bachelor to win, of course, you have to fight to win. Because they say you are not married. What can you tell us? What can you lead us about? You know? Okay. So if I have a daughter, one of you would like to get that daughter, you have to give me one Ifa, one bull, 3 shingots, one hingot, 0. And then my wife also, you have to demand a ram. And with my mates and my larger community and the community elders, when we discussing about whether to give this daughter of ours or not, we might be sitting something. So there won't be a drum of admin. In fact, this used to be actually one of the first items. They are must. And they are must in the sense that, as I said, you see, every day you are negotiating, and you have to announce to the community that our daughter is getting married. So how do I communicate to the people? We have to sit together, and as we said, we receive something. So we have to have the honey so that it can be made from there. Well, the last bit here is the late addition. Clothing and things like that, suit for the mzee, Indian dress for the mama, and these are late additions. You are not yet that addition. Right. If I have my daughter and the wedding is take place, of course, I have to perform the wedding day. It's not like these days whereby you go there and meet in the church and things like that. Normally, the Ameru used to marry in the evening, in the night. In the night. I mean, after sunset. Not yet too much, I mean, for the night, but after sunset. There was belief, of course, that they didn't want those evil spirits to, or people with bad intentions to steal the process. And therefore, some men would have to go and pick the lady, from their parents. It could be possible, not necessary, for the bride to be present and not a must. Of course, there could be some 1 or 2 young boys, and then of course other people now. Now, we need to understand that even in those days, there was element of a priest or a presiding, somebody. So during that time, it was actually the father who was officiating the ceremony, was the one actually who was with the daughter to the, the other family. So you can say that the father used, to you know, perform the role that the priest does. Or the, you know, maybe there could be a situation whereby the father is not alive. Maybe the brother is alive, then that can perform the role of the father. If none of that is available, maybe the closest family friend, himself, of course. If none of those again will be available, maybe now we will go to the elders now, and the elders would choose who will be the father. And in that case, it will be maybe a check man or somebody like that. Otherwise, it was not acceptable for a lady alone to say that he's not giving out to the daughter. The daughters were not really, Now, there comes a situation, just like today, whereby, for example, the unthinkable will come, where people separate, the divorce now. But it's not a question of killing somebody say that I'm tired of you, you need to go away. No. Whoever is initiating divorce must have satisfied some 6 items. Either there could be issue of barrenness, or maybe some refusal of some role, witchcraft, desertion, cruelty. In most cases, the funny part of it is that barrenness, number 2, number 3, number 4, was mainly associated with the women, the woman. The man was not supposed to be barren. Why was that? It was actually because, of course, it's a kind of taboo, but then if the man was the problem, what used to happen is that either somebody from the, age mates or some other related people would father the children on behalf of the man. And therefore, that's why it was not said, don't look at me so much. Yeah, look at us, you are very cruel. So it was actually a sort of a taboo was to say the mother, the father, the man is unable to produce. So it could be arranged such that somebody was to do the fathering on behalf. But then if the problem with the woman, now a problem. That one has to maybe go home. Again, there's one thing you need to note. Androtary was also not acceptable. But then, no to the question. Androtary without the man's consent. If the consent, and it used to be there anyway, that was not any crime. There used to be such situations whereby the man knows the other person who will go. In some cases, it would happen actually that if I intrude in somebody's house and I carry a mukuki spear and go and put it outside there, even when the owner of the bomber comes, you see that mukuki there, you know there's somebody else busy inside. Yes. So that mukuki I put outside there, would I communicate there is somebody inside? Probably maybe the man would know who is inside actually. And therefore that book tells but not how to interfere. This man, look at so it will be that way. Well, it's just an additional, maybe, they're normally very difficult, but they are very heavy also. Yeah, are you sure? Yeah, I recommend you get one from there. Okay, so they are normally They are not easy to win anyway. Eh? I think, all right. Well, then we talk about now the age system. Of course, mostly men can't belong to a group, I mean, age group. And the age, was associated actually together, with the, even by the time somebody get circumcised also or initiated. And therefore, you won't get, it will be actually cyclical. The age system will be cyclical. Remember, the age set here would actually, after some time, depending on where the father also, the father of, if I'm the father and my sons now will have to belong to a group that actually belongs to us before. So, because I mean, maybe I don't even know that one, but it was cyclical. So that the age group now the age set, which of course now would form the this cooperating group we are calling there. And now this element, the initiation, or it's supposed to be actually a division there. The initiation stroke circumcision is not just one word there. It will be actually it was not possible for a male, let me say person, because even traditionally, even used to undergo the circumcision also. So it was unheard of for somebody to be a member of society and you are reached the age of initiation and you are not circumcised. Of course, as I said, just like I said, the married person, if you are not circumcised, you're actually a nobody in the society. You are just not yet a nobody as such, but I mean, no matter whether you are gray haired like me, you are still considered just a thought of you. I'm a child anyway. But then, circumcision, how was it going? Of course, there used to be a bit of preparation. If the circumcision time has come, because it will be actually once a year mostly, if it has come, and of course the group that is going to be circumcised already they know, the angels know that they are going to be circumcised. So now, the boy would actually have to go and announce to his intimates, to his friends, and to his relatives. That what you used to call announcement or in Kimero Korea, meaning that before the circumcision time, maybe a week before, something like that, one would have to go and announce the person now, they want to be initiated, the boy. Will go and of course, not to come and say that, I'm going to be circumcised. No. Yeah, I'm to go and singing. Mostly at night actually. Go singing, and of course there are some set of songs there. And of course, when you hear that song, of course, somebody is saying this. And of course, sometimes maybe women would come out, with a lot of and so on and so forth. Then people come with maybe some gifts. Others, of course, you have to kind of encourage the boy. May you face the knife, things like that. So that was actually sort of preparation. Now, then comes the circumcision day. Of course, I'm not going to know about what used to happen there. Then after that, after the circumcision, of course, there was a period of almost a month seclusion. The purpose here was, this is now where you are going to be actually initiated. this now, the process of becoming a man really starts. That's where the guys could understand, get the instruction how a man should be and all that. What should do, what should not do. And during that period, the parents, both the father and the mother, they are not allowed inside the heart where that solution takes place. Now, the father, just before circumcision, used to appoint somebody whom they would call like a day father or something like that. That the one had to be actually, the to play the role of the father. He will be the one to encourage other people coming to give the guidance, advice to the initiated. Then, of course, the end of seclusion comes. Now, there is something here. You're there. Some other people now would come, already initiated. The older ones, the young warriors and things like that. And they will make a fire somewhere at the corner in that hut, the seclusion hut. And they have a rod burned there. Until it comes like, you'll see the smith and blacksmith, isn't it? Red hot. What they used to do is, if you don't tell us all the evils you have done, all the failures you have got, it's a initiation, another way to take told. Make sure you tell us anything that you have done. Oh, so that you can correct. You don't say it, and of course somebody will come and get it. I tell you, actually just was brand new with it. Then you shout, oh, wait a minute. Let me say. Then you say, it is meant actually to, I don't want to feel like repentance or whatever it is, but to actually to point out whatever wrongs you have done. So this period now, you have to shed out whatever wrong you have done before. You have to forget, but you have to say it. And therefore that round there, the round was like, sometimes actually some of them would be ruthless, like a touch with it. You couldn't ban. But you are said not to say what you are supposed to say. Okay. Then at the end, now the healing has taken place, all the training or guidance has taken place. Now the person has to get out now at a young initiated person. And the father has to suggest a name, the unwrote name now. Remember, when one is called Chieng at the birth, given by parents there at the birth point, that one, after circumcision, you have to forget about that one and assume unwrote name. That's the time this will be introduced. You get Tokiriyama, Mailova, or somebody. Right together. So that's the second name now you get, and that's the name now you are actually be known throughout. Ile ingine ya utoto ile unasahau. So you'll be known henceforth with that. And if a young boy and circumcised made the mistake of referring to you with the original name, you'll be beaten like hell. Of course, I said this one earlier, that I think some repetition here a bit. Anyway, I think this is about generation now system here. I remember I mentioned in generation state and general systems, and I mentioned it was cyclical, be repeated. The fathers will assume this system today. After some time, it will be repeated, or a group will be named with a subset of the previous where the father belonged. Okay. Now, I think there was a mix up there. So this was more follow the other one. So for example, as I said, if today you belong to this age group, the age set will be this one. These are not in any order anyway, but I'm just highlighting the names of the age sets here and age groups. So for example, if the guys who are being circumcised today, they belong to this age set, it is actually associated with the which age group their father belonged. I think it will be very difficult for me to touch, to connect the two here, but it's very complex. Otherwise, simply the age set, that age group, which actually the larger, maybe sort of groups. So if you told somebody, I belong to this group, automatically that will tell you which age group your father belonged, and so on, so forth, something like that. And now, again comes the same names. This, as I said, Ochieng, this is the first name you are given when you are born. Has anybody ever heard of this? This one? Yeah. Have you ever come across it? Where? Where? Okay, the man speaking is known by that name. That's my name. If you have seen JT somewhere, T is this one. Okay. And then, of course, this, as I said, this was the name given at birth. The names were given. Maybe go to the next one. Right. This is my wife. Orina, don't fear, I'm not taking it. Now, we have our son here, the firstborn, a son that will be named after, sorry, after my father. Okay? My firstborn will be named after my father. Okay. This, our first daughter, will be named after the grandmother from the paternal side. The second born, again, will be the same pattern, but from the mother's side. Right? Now, the third, fourth, and the 10th. Now, that there was no kind of pattern there. There could be named after a relative, after maybe a famous neighbor, or a close relative like that, that kind of thing. So, that now, I said initiation, you get a name. You can get such names whereby you aren't foundation here of this. Nto, Ntomungania, Ntomugambi, Tokirigia, so on, right? These are the names used to acquire as Android name. Okay? I'm sure you are not come across anyone. You don't know anybody by that name, probably you know. Okay? Now, there is one in, wait a minute. There is one in rent here. I actually put it in rent. Go, that was what's my name? Yeah. So that's the name I was given after the initiation. Okay? Even if you remember, you call me by that name, I want to complain. Okay. Now here I've tried to differentiate between, because you come across both this, Nto, and Nto. They both exist. The first with the apostrophe is the name that you are given Android name together. Now, this other one, come across this also by Ndongai, somebody. This is just the name of the first name, like the first original ones. So if you find one is such a name, it is first name somebody given at the birth. But when you find one with apostrophe, is the Android name. Okay, let's move on. Of course, I've explained this one. Of course, you'll find like in Tororo, Tongai, Toribi, then female names. I'm sure you'll come across this one. I'm sure some of you will be called by that name, Karemi, Kanan, and so on and so forth. Those are the female names given at birth. Okay? Now, as I said, when I get married to this lady, they know really looking at me very suspiciously. Then, our father, before she given to me, before we get married, would have come up with a name. Now, sort of Android name now. And then she'll become Chakairanya, Chalaikro, Chabaitome, those kind of things. Those are now, Android names go to women at the time of marriage. Okay? So this is actually where the somebody comes in. Okay? Let's go on. Now, something interesting here. In Kemeru, and I'm sure even in many other societies, death was just viewed as just one of the faces. It's not, it was just seen as a change of form, but the same person remains and becomes maybe ancestors. So it was actually taken as a rite of passage. And now, I say become an ancestor. It all depends on the characteristics or the character of this individual. If you're a good person, then you belong to that category of the spirit, good spirit, ancestor, good ancestors. If you're a bad person, character, like a thief, murderer, all those kind of things, then you would like to forget you as easily as possible. You belong to nowhere. So, in other words, the translation did not alter or end the life of or change the temperament of the person. Only change the form. So this person will access in another form, not completely, kind of forgotten. Next, please. So, in other words, as I've said, it was as a rite of passage. So, you are to make it go to the other one as of the, an ancestor or the kind of a. So, changing from the past, from present to the past. I don't know the past here because it's not taken as future because it is like gone already. Then there is something else which might look confusing. Present to the past and the past to the present. Because after somebody died, if depending on who you are in society, and again, the remaining relatives, I'm talking about here about wife and the husband. If the husband died, the wife also had to undergo some rites or some cleansing or something like that. And as you'll see shortly, so that the continuity is there. There must be a linkage between that past and the present. When we move to the next. So, as I said, of course, this is just what I've said, that in some cases, the Ameru attitude towards death differ depending on how the person, behaved in, when he was alive. Let's move on. Again, the same, the character of an individual determine what became of death, an ancestor or some that nobody want to mention. Now, the Merus never buried their dead. Why? They believe, of course, there is a connection between the person, the man, and the nature. So it's like maybe going back to where we came from, or something like that. There's connection between the nature and the man. So instead of burying, some of it here may look very cruel. If you are a good or respected person in society, and depending on how you died, sometimes the almost dying person would be taken alive and be taken to the forest. Either there could be some dead heart, whereby somebody will be left there, almost the dying person, not dead, dying, in the process of dying. When he's still alive, will be taken to the forest. Of course, they knew that the hyenas will do their business, but that is still taken as part of the natural, environment. So they will be taken either before they die, when they're in the process of dying, or if they are dead, they will be again thrown into the bushes, to the forest. As I mentioned, due to that bond between the human nature, the dying would be taken into the forest or left in the heart and die there. I mean, as I said, this is my third prayer, because you take somebody who is not yet dead, who are living in the heart, and they knew, of course, that was the end. Now, they believe, of course, that the corpse is just part of the nature. That's why they are not doing anything to the corpse. But there is one thing, of course, I can mention here. It was a taboo. It was not acceptable. If a woman died to be buried, if she died when she was pregnant, it will not be acceptable to bury the two together. You have to remove the baby. After death, then followed the cleansing. And of course, the mourning period. Now, this, in most cases, again, it will depend on how the person died. If the person died at home, it means that there must have some people whom have had contact with the corpse. So some rites have to be performed to cleanse it. Those who may have come across the corpse. So other rites, other procedures during the for mourning, in the period of isolation. This isolation here, the immediate family of the dead person would remain for quite a period of time, I think minimum of a week, sometimes maybe a month, without performing any activity outside their boma, be it increasing, be it doing anything else. They have been just within their immediate environment. Now, I mentioned about the continuity when I was talking about either present, the future, past to present, or present to past. So because actually, when the man died, I think the woman for that matter, among the rights, there are other things that would follow, some of their sexual acts, for the continuity, kind of thing. And I think there's a bit of a lot to use there. The cleansing, the part of it, as I said, when the people died at home, I think there was a kind of a taboo. People who remained to be cleaned. And of course, you would immediately know somebody who has lost a relative, because there will be shaving, actually complete shaving, like like some of the clean. The way I see some people here, you're not one of them. I say I'm just an example. Clean shaven. When you see, for example, a woman completely shaved, know that this person has lost a husband, and so on and so forth. Okay, faster. Now, maybe the last to finish off, the item, whatever that person had, clothing, bangles, also used to have bangles, the earrings, whatever it is, they have to be actually kind of done with, so that the departure is seen, that the person now mark the departure, the final moment with that person. Well, this injustice system, well, I am sure very many of you are aware of these councils, which belong to many communities, council of elders. So the mayor also used to have their jury in Cheke, and the jury for that matter. So they used to be governed by council of elders. Let's move. Now, many people, I'm sure they know during Cheke. I think if you ask anybody here, would have heard of during Cheke. But during Cheke was the apex. Otherwise, for the just small disputes in the village there used to be actually council, at the council level, Kiama, meaning the smallest, like what you can compare today as, is a magistrate's court, like a magistrate or something like that. That level there. Basically, people within that village. Then, group for the maybe more specific cases, not yet the issue of complex, but maybe cases that are involving maybe more than one clan, maybe one clan like another, then would get a larger group, like sort of an appeal court. And of course, finally comes the Supreme Court, the final authority, and that is now where you hear about during Cheke. So before somebody becomes, belongs to this group, you have gone through this. And that will be now the complete justice system among the American people. Asante sana. So I think I move very fast because I know the time where we are in. Don't go to 4 o'clock. So that's why I've tried to be very much in a hurry. But I hope some people have got the idea how Meru looks like. You have got an idea. For example, you come to marry my daughter, what you expect to pay or to give me. Sorry? That's a must. You are scared, young man. That's too much. Well, watch him just. I can see Edgar here is very, he's very happy. He looks like that's not very expensive. Well, welcome. Without all right. Thank you very much. Unless if there is any clarification to be done, we can.
Yeah, let's appreciate him. The clap, please. The Nyayo style. Okay. Weke pamoja. 1, 2, 3. One. Thank you, bro. Umefanya kazi. Si amefanya kazi mzuri. Yeah, going through all this is not easy, especially trying to remember all the steps and the cultural process up to the point where you reached. It's not an easy thing. And I think for those from Kisii, you can appreciate that the culture of the Meru is very close to the Kisii, isn't it? And the Masai, isn't it? Prof, this thing of yours is very close to other people's things, eh? Especially which area is very similar to Kisii. For those who are listening, and or circumcision, isn't it? Yes. And even marriage, isn't it? Yet those cultural processes are actually very, very similar with one another. And that's why they say that Merus are cousins of Kisii, isn't it? Yeah, what else was similar, you think? The burial rituals, isn't it? Okay. About after death, life after death, between the Kisii and the Meru.
I think the same way he was saying the past, the present to the past, then the past to the present. The same way we believe that when we die, we become an ancestor, we become past, and then your spirit will come to the child who's going to be born. So you become the present again.
Okay, what do we have in Kisii? Do we have ancestral spirits?
Yes.
Okay, what is Kisokoro and what is Kisokoro ancestral spirits or are they?
Ancestors. No, those are ancestors.
Are they ancestors or ancestral spirits?
Ancestors.
Okay, in Kisii, what are the spirits in Kisii?